Alright, good morning all. Smokie Brannaman up here with you again today, and today we're going to do an eval on this saddle that my friend Rick from J.C. Martin Saddlery down in Texas sent me. He wants me to give an opinion of his new product here, do some riding on it, and have some of my friends ride it and give him an honest opinion of what I think of it. We've bought a number of saddles from Rick in the past and have had pretty good luck with them. They're pretty tough saddles, and I don't have any complaints, and I don't think my wife has any complaints with her saddle either. She's got a Wade as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just like I always do with folks that want my opinion. I'm going to give a straight up honest opinion on what I think of this new saddle and this new model, and we're going to throw that out there for you, and then we'll take it and give it a test drive and put it through its paces. But anyway, the specifics on this saddle, it's his new model. Dang, I forgot to write down the number. Vic, can you give me the number off the website there?
137.
It's a
model 137.
It's his new model 137. It's a Wade saddle. It's a completely new design from what I see from the Wade saddle trees that he was using before. I kind of like it's got a pretty nice look to it. It's definitely a heavy-duty saddle, and I'll give you the whole catalog specifics on this thing, and then we'll go through point by point some of the things that I would maybe do a little differently with it. But overall, first impression, it's a pretty nice looking saddle, pretty well put together, some good workmanship in it. Anyway, here's the catalog specs on this particular saddle that he sent me. This saddle here has got a 15-inch seat. He also makes them in a 16 and a 17, and the ones that I've ridden are primarily the 16-inch seats, but this seat fits pretty well too, even for a guy my size. It's got full quarter-horse bars, has a 7-inch gullet here. We have an 8-inch A-fork swell on it. It's got a 3-inch horn with a 4-inch cap. It's got the horn wrap on it. I would prefer to have the mule hide wrap on it rather than this slick leather. Something Rick might want to think about changing. We got 7/8 flat plate rigging in it, and it's good heavy rigging. It's not cheap. It's all the rigging D's are put in here with heavy copper rivets. It's screwed straight to the tree up in here. Copper rivets back here, stitched around all the edges for added stability on that rigging. Overall, pretty tough, heavy-duty rigging. It's got 21-inch fenders here. They're plenty long enough for me. I've set them up for me now, and there's still a couple holes left, so you long-legged fellers can probably get by with this without having to special order the fenders. Got a 5-inch straight up cantle, sits good. 27-inch round skirts, which is something that really impressed me with this saddle as opposed to Rick's older design. The skirts were just way too long, and on my wife's saddle they fill up a 32-inch blanket, which is what this is. So you had to be real careful about saddle placement on the pad to keep the skirts from extending too far back or too far forward. So he shortened that up and streamlined it a little better, and I really kind of like that modification that he's done with it. 6 saddle strings, all nice latigo leather. The leather in particular is, honestly, it's not AAA quality Herman oak that you're going to find on a $4,000 saddle, but for the base price of these saddles, it's nice leather. It's very flexible, it's heavy, it's not going to pinch up on you and rot away or get disfigured. It's pretty supple, oiled well, and nice. Okay, these skirts also are triple thick heavy duty, so they're not going to fold up on you like a bunch of cheap saddles will and get all out of shape, and they're double stitched around the edges for more rigidity in those stirrups, or in the skirts themselves. Even the seat here has got a line of stitching on it to keep that from bending up and getting out of position. So a lot of thought into the little things on this saddle. It also comes, this saddle came with installed buck and rolls, which are nice quality. They stand right up there with the $200 ones you get from other suppliers. And it also comes with a rear cinch, which is back here. On the website, it does show that it comes with a breast collar too, but this one didn't happen to come with a breast collar, so I can't tell you really what it looks like or how well it's put together. But judging from the rest of the saddle, I would imagine it's a pretty good breast collar too. The one thing I would change, and this is really just my personal opinion, I don't ride with these great big wide cinches that are wide on the bottom, kind of a roper type cinch. I would rather have just a straight 5 or 6 inch flat cinch on my saddle. Let's see, what else can I tell you about this thing? All the hardware on it is stainless steel, heavy duty. It's not cheap stuff. One thing I would do is have this ring a little bit smaller, but that's just a personal choice too. A smaller ring would just streamline it more and make it look more cosmetically pleasing. And I've noticed that some of his other models and saddles has a little bit smaller ring, so this might just be a supply thing that they need to standardize with all their saddles. And this saddle also has a 10-year warranty on it for the tree. It's I can tell you, it's a tough saddle from the ones that we've had in the past, and I'm sure the quality of this tree is the same as the ones they've had in the past. And you're not going to find a tougher tree out there that, for the money, that'll hold up to a lot of hard service. Okay, now, so some of the things that I've talked to Rick about that I would maybe change with this saddle, and it's purely my perspective of how I like my saddle set up and how I rig them and how I ride them. Okay. First thing is, I would change out these stirrups. I use a 4-inch wood metal bound bell stirrup on them. They're a little handier. This stirrup here is leather covered wood, and it's not a bad stirrup, but for me it's just way wide. I could use these stirrups for riding in the wintertime, you know, and not getting a rubber boot hung up in them or something like that. But for just general riding, I would go to a different kind of stirrup. These fenders, by the way, or the skirts, the fenders, sorry. The fenders are already pre-twisted and bound so that your foot stays in that position, or the stirrup stays in that position all the time, so it's a lot easier on your knees. You don't have to constantly be twisting on that stirrup to get it out there where you need to be for a proper foot alignment when you're riding. And I'll tell you what, with bad knees like mine, that's the handiest thing that anybody ever invented. Now, it comes rigged with a single latigo on this side and an off billet on this side, which is perfectly fine for most people. It's a good rig setup. I would change out this latigo. This is just plain natural leather latigo, or natural leather from what I can see. It might be latigo. I might have to look a little closer on that. Yeah, I guess it is latigo. So no complaints there. That was one change that he did make. These were just natural leather latigos in years past, and I see now that they've went to regular oil tan red latigo, which I ride all the time with red latigo. But the one thing that I would want as an option on this saddle, if I was going to go buy it, is I would want it double rigged with a latigo on this side too, because I ride a lot of different kinds of horses and a lot of smaller and bigger horses, and I want that advantage of having to be able to adjust my cinch on both sides with the latigo on both sides. The other thing that I would probably change on this saddle is he's got the latigo keepers on both sides, but he's also got a real handy cinch keeper for keeping your cinches up out of the dirt when you go to unsaddle and drag your saddle back to the tack room or whatever. Most of my saddles are set up with the rigging keepers here, or the latigo keepers on both sides, but my cinch keeper is back here on this back cinch, or on the back concho over here on this side. And that's purely from a functional point. I don't want to have to mess around with keeping my latigos out of the way and all those things while I'm trying to do up a cinch. And I can sit here and hold my horse, and I can use my left hand to do up these latigos over here without being encumbered with my latigo cinch there, or my cinch latigo. Let's see, what else can I tell you about this saddle? It weighs just about 40 pounds, so it's a pretty heavy saddle, probably heavier than most gals would want to deal with. But I know he has in the works that he's looking at doing a lady weight, which is going to be a little bit lighter in construction and a little easier for you gals to handle. And I'll look forward to taking a look at that too, and I'm sure Vicky, my wife, is chomping at the bit to ride and work with one of those too, so that we can take it to a clinic and see what the gals think of a little bit lighter saddle that they're not going to have to pull bulls around on like this one would be for. Another thing that I would change on this saddle, and there's nothing wrong with these breast collar rings being down here, but I know he does make a style with the breast collar ring incorporated into the latigo rigging, which sets it up a little higher and makes it a little easier to get to when you're putting on your breast collar. So I would probably standardize that and put the rings up here rather than putting them down in the skirts. Other than that, I think she's a pretty darn good looking saddle, and you can see that the seat is well formed. You don't sit forward in this saddle. You sit, when you're just sitting naturally comfortable, you're dead center in that saddle. You're sitting down on your horse pretty good in a relaxed position, and your feet come right to a natural position with the twist on those stirrups as well. So I'm looking forward to riding this baby, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of weather break here in the next couple of days, and we can throw it on some horses and see how it fits all the different horses that I have up here. And I've already got a few folks from my customers around here that are really chomping at the bit to come out here and take a look at this thing too. So we'll keep you up to speed when we do the next video on riding this saddle and putting it through its paces. Y'all have a good one.